And joining us on the Carne Asada is MLB Network contributor Alanna Rizzo, old friend to Dodger fans, actually, former Spectrum SportsNet LA star. So, Alana, thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to be with you guys, and I would love some carne asada right now, actually. So if there's a way that we could arrange that, I'm all in.
You know, we had Jose Mota on the show, and that's the thing that's the first thing he said too. So apparently, we got to find a way to feed everybody as they come on the show.
But some carne asada before we get on and start talking, that would be amazing.
Well, the reason why we call it carne asada is this is going to be very relaxed. We're just sitting around. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to talk all kinds of topics. This is very informal. So you're in good hands.
Good. I like it. I like that.
Well, first of all, we have to start with something because Babyface, that's what we call our producer, is completely perplexed by the concept of an NFT. And instead of me trying again to try to explain to him what it is, I'm going to let you do it because you have an NFT.
Well, let me tell you something. I am certainly not the expert when it comes to any sort of cryptocurrency, any sort of NFT, which stands for non-fungible token. I am not the expert on it, but I'm working with a man by the name of James, and he presented it to me. And basically, there's this whole cryptocurrency now. We've heard, of course, about Bitcoin and those types of things. And the idea is to be able to have a collection of these non-fungible tokens, NFTs, to use as a collector's item. So we're going to do a series of different NFTs throughout our collection that all benefit Guidry's Guardian Foundation. And that's my foundation that I started in July of 2019 to help dogs get off the streets and out of high kill shelters, primarily in Southern California, because that's where I was living, of course, when I started Guidry's Guardian Foundation. So James presented an opportunity to be able to create an NFT that would benefit 55% of the profits from the sale of this NFT will go to Guidry's Guardian Foundation. And we hope that it's successful enough and we get a community of people that are involved enough and excited enough about it to be able to release, 2 or 3 other NFTs in a series, a collection. So oftentimes, people that used to collect back in our day, I mean, I'm much older than you guys, I'm sure, but back, like people that would collect gold coins or just, different things. I mean, think about the people that collect pins from every single ballpark they go to. Or I had a young lady from Canada that wanted the Jackie Robinson 75th anniversary pin because she couldn't find that. So think of it like that, but it's something that is non-tangible, meaning you can't actually feel it. It's not a pen. Like you can't, feel it. So you have in this virtual, everything is virtual now, right? So in this virtual bank, per se, for lack of a better term. And our launch, we hope to have the launch be in the middle of June, perhaps around June 17th. And that'll be the first one. We're looking to have 3,333 pieces. So 3,333 pieces of this first non-fungible token. And we opened it up to our fans, our fan base, and primarily Dodger fans, of course, because that's where I was for 7 years. So thankfully for that position that I had, I was able to have this platform to talk about Guidry's Guardian Foundation. And we're hoping that Dodger fans and, any baseball fan or anybody that's a fan of saving dogs participates in this first release of our first token. And then as it goes on, we hope to be able to release other tokens in the series and in this collection. And the biggest thing with all this NFT is being able to join our Discord. And what that is basically like a community virtual meeting place where we can all have a forum and talk about not only the NFTs, but also, dogs in need, not only in Los Angeles, but all over the country, because unfortunately it's a national epidemic of people just dumping their dogs. And there's more dogs that need homes than there's actually a supply for. And I know in LA right now, there's massive, massive issues with dogs being killed at the Riverside shelter. Carson's always really rough. There's Devore, Big Bear, that area. There's a lot of overcrowded shelters. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. we have a sponsor that we're working with that is giving each person that signs up on our Discord and for this NFT promotion that if you put a $50 deposit on the your account, basically you get $25 in return. So basically you're getting a free $25 to be able to kind of participate in this thing. And again, this is all for, Guidry's Guardian Foundation didn't have to put anything up for this. We are a not-for-profit. I do not make a salary on Guidry's Guardian Foundation. None of this is money in my pocket. James is the one that has launched this, came with the idea, is putting all the money up front to do this. He's the one that hired the artist that created that logo behind me, not Vince Scully, but that logo. There's Vince. Okay. This logo is Guidry, and that is the logo for the foundation. But Anna is our artist for this NFT, and she created what we call Furry Guidry. And we had our fans vote whether they wanted 1980s Guidry or Furry Guidry, and Furry Guidry won out. So that logo will be the first NFT that we're doing. So it's just, it's really out of my purview as well. I'm not very knowledgeable about it, but thank God I don't have to be, because James is. So FTX.us is the one giving the $25 promo to anyone that has $50 in their account. So, and you just join Discord, and I can post on how to do that too. So that's a very long answer to your very short question, but this whole world of NFT and cryptocurrency is very new to me as well. But if it benefits animals, I'm in.
That's great. I was going to mention the design. I know you said that this is the first in what will hopefully be a series. Does that mean that the 1980s Guidry may see the light of day in the series?
Maybe Juan. I think what's going to happen is Anna, our artist, is tremendously talented, of course. And I think she's going to start adding some accessories to Furry Guidry. So you may see Furry Guidry with a baseball hat. You may see Furry Guidry with a not a baseball, because that can hurt their teeth, but a rubber ball or something that's good for dogs. So he might be getting some sunglasses. I'm not exactly sure what direction we're going in, but each coin in the series is going to have a little bit of a different flavor for Guidry as he moves throughout the process. And again, 55% of all of this goes to Guidry's Guardian Foundation. And what we hope that it becomes is a collector's item. Obviously, NFTs, cryptocurrency, it's like money, right? So it could, like gold, it rises in value, it can decrease in value. So we're hoping that, for these collectors, that they keep them and eventually, it's worth something for the buyer. But of course, to help animals in need is our immediate goal.
And is there still plans to do something All-Star Game week regarding this?
Yes, we're not certain yet if it's going to be the Friday before the All-Star Game or the Sunday before the All-Star Game. So either July 15th or July 17th. We're still trying to figure out a location, because James is trying to get a location where people can bring their dogs. So like an outdoor patio there in Los Angeles. But I am flying to Los Angeles for the event, as well as the All-Star Game, of course. But it just kind of worked out that it's a month after our launch. And just basically to meet people that are in this, in this NFT community, people that are Dodger fans, baseball fans, fans of rescue, that type of thing. So it's a very casual. We talked about carne asada being a very casual thing here. Well, this mixer is going to be casual, but it's a way for us to say thank you. It's a way to kind of put, names to faces and kind of just talk about the foundation and the whole NFT world. So hopefully we'll have more information on that soon. It'll either be the 15th or the 17th of July.
Fantastic. Joining us on the Carne Asada, Alanna Rizzo, MLB Network contributor, and of course, friend of the Dodgers. I think a lot of people still will always associate you with the Dodgers, Alana. Alysha, go ahead.
Hi. First of all, it's wonderful what you're doing, Alana. You've always been so good to Dodger fans, your Dodger family, and to dogs. And this NFT thing, how brilliant is that? I'm still learning about NFTs and the whole Discord and all that. So speaking with you, I now know more. So thank you. I'm learning.
We're all kind of learning together. It's new to me too, for sure.
Yeah. And so, okay, A, what a great concept. And B, I can't wait. I know I'm definitely going to try to get in on one of these. And I love that you mentioned collecting items and stuff like that. I also love, I know you worked, or rather, George Lopez is one of your supporters. He has donated to Guidry's, right? And he himself has some NFTs. So I love to see more women, and especially women of color, get into this. So when they approached you to do this NFT thing, were you hesitant at all? I mean, I know you said you're still learning about this process, or were you already hearing about NFTs and crypto and all that stuff? Because it is around us everywhere.
It is, and I've heard, I've been hearing about it for years, but I'm just not that savvy. I'm always like 10 years behind the curve. Like
Right.
I'm always late to the party on everything. Everyone's like, oh, there's this movie called Titanic. Oh, should I? That type of thing. So anyway, I had heard about it for a really long time. And then when James approached me about it, I was hesitant only because I just don't know anything. But my hesitancy really stemmed from, okay, listen, we're a not-for-profit. I don't have a staff. It's just me. The whole point of this is to raise money for dogs. So anything that comes out of the Guidry's Guardian Foundation bank, for lack of a better term, I need it to go towards the assistance for dogs. So I made it very clear that like we just don't have that sort of budget. And James was very clear that he was the one that was really putting all of the effort into this, and we were lucky enough to be the beneficiary of it. So of course, legal has to get involved, and we had attorneys take a look at the contract and stuff. But yeah, my hesitancy was more of like, A, I don't know what you're talking about. And B, needed to make sure that Guidry's wasn't liable for anything financially, because we're not a huge foundation. It like I said, it's just me trying to fundraise, and this is just for me an outside of the box way of thinking about fundraising. There's so many ways, and every rescue, every foundation, every corporation is competing for the same dollar, and of course, with what is going on in the world today, you're limited in terms of like disposable income and disposable funds, and things are strange in our world and in our economy. So you kind of have to think non-traditional ways and outside the box ways of being able to raise funds, because regardless of whether you're raising funds or not, the need is always there, and rescue never stops regardless of what's going on in the world. And these animals will always need us. I would be remiss if I didn't on air here on this podcast thank Baseballism. Baseballism, this is a Baseballism shirt that they created with me for Guidry's Guardian Foundation. So Baseballism has this shirt, and it's the Bow Wow line, and every proceeds, 10% of the proceeds from every shirt, and there's 4 different designs, go to Guidry's Guardian Foundation. And Travis, the CEO and founder of Baseballism, he's a baseball fan, obviously, or else he wouldn't have founded Baseballism. But he came up to me and said, hey, we would like to do something and give back to the community. So there's just a lot of different ways as the foundation that becomes more established, that we hope to be able to think of different avenues of fundraising.
I love it. I love it. Again, thank you for doing that. I try to help out as much as I can, and I got to say that this is the first time that I've heard of NFTs for fundraising. So bravo, lady, bravo. And since we're talking, or you just mentioned your get together to thank the fans, will there be wine there? And will there be Scott and Cellar wine there?
Well, I'm not sure about that, only because if it's a public location, because again, we're trying to get everything donated because we are a foundation. So if it's a public location, we're gonna imbibe and participate in the food and drink at the location. If it's a private center, if that's what if we decide to go that route, then there will be Scout and Cellar wine, because I'm also a Scout and Cellar rep, as are you, a Scout and Cellar consultant. So the details are still remaining to be worked out, but we're looking forward to. I always love. Every time I land in LA, I feel like I'm home. So the fact that I get to go there for the All-Star game this year, and the fact that, I'm going for this, I'm so looking forward to being back in Los Angeles. I'm grateful that we finally get to host the All-Star game, because obviously in 2020 we couldn't. So more details to come on that, but I cannot wait. I can tell you there will be a lot of Scout and Cellar drink on Saturday, because I'm doing a tasting in LA for Scout. At least on Saturday, I know that will.
How fun. excited. You just added another party to All-Star Week. I know we are very excited. Juan, myself, Babyface, the podcast. We hope to be there, around there as well. So we'll see you. Let's. I'm gonna try to get one of those T-shirts too. Very cool.
Yeah, you can go to baseballism.com and check it out. It's the Bow Wow line, and I am very proud to say that we're getting 2 new breeds. I think two breeds that are often misrepresented, misunderstood, and 2 breeds that are in shelters more than any other. So those are coming out. Baseballism has been very gracious to want to continue this charitable line of Bow Wow line, and they've been tremendous. And I'm also working with a company called The Mutt Dog, not on apparel, but a partnership where we can find other ways to be able to promote fostering and adopting all across the country in terms of rescue too. So the Mutt Dog is a for-profit company, but they have a philanthropic branch. So we're getting ready to Guidry's Guardian Foundation and the Mutt Dog are going to be doing some more stuff together as well.
Awesome. Since we're talking about the All-Star game, I'm in Mexico right now. This is Mazatlan.
I'm a little jealous, by the way. It's not nearly that nice.
It's a disclaimer that I was trying to show off the ocean, but I'm backlit, and it's anywho. I did not hear if the Dodgers have announced which Dodger is going to attend the home run derby.
The home run derby. Yeah, that hasn't been announced yet. None of the teams have announced that yet. I'm not even certain the guys have been asked yet. So it's still a little too early in the season.
Who do you think?
Well, for the Dodgers, I mean, there's a lot of people that could do it, right?
Right.
And now there's that incentive. The last couple of years, the winner wins $1 million. So if anybody wants to ask me, I'd be happy to do it. Throw a couple of meatballs right down the middle of the plate. I might have a shot of hitting one out of. Although with the dead balls this year, I'm not sure if I could even make it to stop. But I don't know yet. I mean, there's a lot of guys obviously in the league that can do it. We're almost at the quarter pole, so we're almost at about 40 something games, 45 games or whatever until the quarter pole. So as it gets closer to, you're going to start seeing the ballots come out as far as the All-Star game participants and the voting and the Final Five and all that soon. So, obviously I think the Dodgers will be highly represented just because they're the host and they're one of the best records in baseball. So they definitely have some people that can qualify to be in it. And it also depends on whether they want to participate too. So we'll see.
Juan and I, we are always talking about how spoiled we are as Dodger fans. Well, at least I am.
We're very spoiled.
We are very spoiled, right, Juan?
That's right. We are talking with the pride of Sierra High School. And now this is the second Hall of Famer that we've had on the show. For those of you who don't know, Alana is part of the Athletic Hall of Fame at Sierra High School. The other Hall of Famer that we had on the show was Jaime Jarrin.
Oh, I couldn't even compete with that. That's not even fair.
Hey, you are both Hall of Famers, but it leads me to this, Alana. Jaime is retiring. Yeah. You've been, you worked in that organization. I would love this man to get as many flowers as he can. Because in every regards to me, his career is just as amazing as his counterpart, 100%. Vin Scully. The stuff that he covered outside of baseball alone, I think, would make him legendary. Mm-hmm. But what he's done for the game, and especially that community, the Mexican-American community in Los Angeles. Did you have any experiences with Jaime? How often did you cross paths with him?
All the time. I mean, first of all, he is more of a Hall of Fame person than he is a Hall of Fame broadcaster. The man is wonderful, and his entire family. I mean, Jaime and Jorge and Maggie and Blanca, God bless her when she was still with us, and all their kids, and they are such a wonderful, wonderful family. And Jaime was just so incredibly gracious. And I just saw him actually at the All-Star Game press conference where we honored him at the press conference because, obviously it's his 64th and final year. And what a man, what an amazing story coming from Ecuador, I want to say at the age of 19 and not knowing anything about baseball. and to be able to create the life and the career that he has had, and to be able to witness all of the World Series he's done, the no hitters, the perfect games, and Jaime and Vin are incredibly close. When Blanca passed away, Jaime had thought about maybe hanging it up, and he had a conversation with Vin, and Vin was like, "You need to keep working because that will keep you going." And then unfortunately, when Sandy Scully passed away, Vin and Jaime spoke again, and it's just a very interesting relationship. I mean, imagine what those two have seen in their lives, and not only just the change in the world since they started broadcasting, but the change in journalism and the change in reporting and how different the access is now. And he's a wonderful person, and he means so much to the Spanish-speaking community. And think about our fan base. I mean, think about and Jaime is from Ecuador, but think about how many people in our fan base are Spanish-speaking, Mexican-American, and listening to Jaime, and that's the only way that they could get Dodger games. So to be able to listen to him and just see him be with he has outlived how many ownership groups,
yeah.
How many presidents, how many, and he's just a class act. And I like that he's going out on his terms, and the Dodgers would have kept him there for another 20 years. It's his terms. This is what he wants to do. I couldn't be happier for him. I'll never forget, every time we went to Philadelphia, the Dodgers went to Philadelphia to play the Phillies. He would always take us to his favorite Mexican restaurant there in Philly. And, the man is a legend everywhere he goes. And he has taught so many people and provided so much guidance and tutelage to so many broadcasters, Spanish speaking and English speaking. There's a lot of Spanish speaking broadcasters that didn't think they'd even have a job if it wasn't for Jaime. So it's, the lives that he's touched and the difference that he's made, it's unquantifiable. He's an amazing human being. And he and Vin are as equally wonderful as you think they are. Whatever you think of Vin and Jaime, that's who they are.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because you spent 7 years covering the team, and I don't think there's a better poster child for professionalism than you. You do make that job look much easier than what it really is.
Yeah.
And you can watch other people and you'll see that you're very polished, and that's a tribute to your work ethic. But we had John Suhu on the show, the fabulous John Suhu, and we asked John. We always hear, we hear it, we see it all the time. Everybody kills Dave Roberts. It's always Dave Roberts' fault. But John Suhu told us that when he goes out, and if someone starts complaining to him, because he's very close with Dave Roberts, he tells them, "I don't want to hear this. Go tell it to someone else." You are objective. Do you run across that sometimes when you're hanging outside circles and you hear people bad-mouthing not only players, but these people that you work with every day? Do you have that similar John Suhu attitude?
Yeah, first of all, John Suhu is the best in the business, period. He's so imagine the things that he's seen behind nothing.
Yeah.
And he is the digital and visual storyteller of the team that we all love so much. So thank goodness for him, and thank goodness for him always being in the right place at the right time. He's entering his 200th season with the team. So John's the best there is. But yeah, what people lose sight of, Juan, is the fact that, as Alysha was saying, it's like we don't realize how lucky we are to cover the team and to be a fan of a team that has gone to the World Series 3 times in the last, at this point, whatever it is, 7 years or whatever it is, 17, 18, and 20. We take for granted, I think, how good this team is year in and year. And I do not want to hear the excuse one more time that this team spends money, because there are teams that spend money that have not had the success that this team has had year in and year out. And by the way, this is a team that also has success every single year and does not completely deplete their farm system to have success. So I don't want to hear it anymore. And you can't tell me that they buy championships when there's other teams that spend just as much or more and haven't won. You have to play for each other to win a championship. I don't care how talented you are. You have to play for each other to win. So that irritates me. But I don't think people understand how lucky we are that this team has been so good for so long. So yes, are they going to win 162 games a year? No. But I understand, the frustration of like, why did he have them lay down a bunt? Why wasn't Craig Kimbrell on the mound? Why hasn't he pitched in 5 days? There is so much that goes on behind what it takes to be a good manager. I would ask you this, anybody that's listening. Name one manager that's out there right now, active manager, or even inactive, I don't care, that you would rather have than Dave Roberts. Because not only does Dave manage a very good game, is he perfect? Obviously not. But not only does Dave manage a very good game, he gets it. He is right where he's supposed to be in the community. He's always smiling. He's always doing everything he's supposed to do. He understands I have to say that sometimes being the manager is your last priority and what it actually involves to be a manager. Everything that is on his plate, everything that's on the plate of all of these managers, sometimes managing the game is the last thing you're even thinking about. Dave Roberts is very good at his job. Andrew Friedman is phenomenal at his job. Think about what Andrew Friedman has been able to do and bring in the signings at the deadline or the signings in the offseason or those types of things. I remember when we were flying, can't remember where we were going, but that's when we got Yu Darvish and all this. And I understand people want to blow up Yu Darvish for Game 7, whatever. But the people that Andrew Friedman has been able to get, and again, not blowing up the farm system is incredibly impressive. So yeah, people want to complain, but that's also a fan's right to complain, right? I mean, the only reason that we have these games and the salaries that we have and this, that, and the other thing, in addition to TV rights, obviously, is because the fans are there. And they're incredibly important to this game. And they're incredibly important to the development and the longevity of this game. So they have that right to complain. And you're not a fan of, I'm glad I don't cover football because I'm a Denver Broncos fan. If I covered it, I probably would care. But I still have the right to yell at the TV when I'm watching the Broncos game. If I was covering them, it would be different. So I do come across that, but I also have to tell people, like, put it into perspective. And no disrespect, but think if you were a fan of the Mariners. They haven't made the postseason since 2001. Ichiro Suzuki was a rookie. They have the longest drought in the 4 major North American sports in the postseason. Imagine if you were one of their fans. Imagine if you were the Cubs before 2016, the Red Sox before 2004. So just keep that in mind when you want to blow up Dave Roberts or somebody misses the cutoff man. Listen, and I get the whole thing. They make $1 gazillion, blah, 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 but they're not robots. Like, they are people, right. So again, I'm very long-winded. It's a very long answer to a very short question, but yes.
It's okay. I'm sure Alysha has a follow-up for you. Go ahead, Alysha.
Yep. How did you know, Juan? Let's see. So I love that answer. You're absolutely right. I can get upset, but I never boo our own players, especially at our ballpark. And I am finding that these later years, there are a lot more fans booing, and I don't like it. And I know that response to me when I make that comment is, well, it's our right. We bought the ticket or whatnot. But we asked John Suhu the same thing. It's not effective. It doesn't help the team win, and especially at home. And so I just wanted to know what your thoughts on booing your own favorite team, your team, the players at our ballpark.
Yeah, I don't like it. But I don't like it. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's rude. What I don't understand is, like, for example, Kenley Jansen is the one, for me, the most recently that people were constantly booing Kenley. Okay. He leads the franchise in saves. Like, right. It's people have to realize that you have to constantly evolve as a player, particularly as a pitcher. Kenley, Clayton, anybody where they are right now, as far as their age is concerned, and they're still babies to me because I'm 100 years old compared to them. But they have to learn how to adjust. They're not necessarily the flame-throwing guy. I mean, Clayton was never a flamethrower, but they're not the high velocity guys anymore, but they've adjusted to be able to pitch and still be effective and still get outs. Kenley has done nothing but everything that we've asked him to do. Same with me.
Yes.
And to boo Kenley, to me, is just ridiculous. Or to boo a guy that has been traded, not his fault. It's or to boo Kenley when he as a free agent went to Atlanta. It was a better fit. It was a better fit for the Dodgers and for Kenley. So yeah, I mean, again, it is a fan's right to do what they want. I don't understand it, but what I understand less than booing your own team at your home park is the stupid wave in baseball. Can we talk about that for a hot second? Just for a hot second.
I really don't understand the hatred towards the wave. I really don't.
Okay, but here's my issue with it. If it's, again, I don't like it ever in baseball, but here's when I really hate it. It's a close game. Your pitcher's on the mound, and there's a wave going behind home plate. Like how is that helpful?
Now you have a good perspective here because you were on the field. How noticeable is that to the pitcher when they're seeing that go around the stadium?
Well, especially I find it incredibly distracting. If I'm on the mound 60 feet, 6 inches, and there's all this going on behind me, I mean, yes, they're professional athletes. They're supposed to block it out. I don't know. Again, I'm old. I'm more of a baseball purist. It annoys me. To me, it's fine in football. I don't know. I don't like it. And everyone says like I'm old lady yelling at clouds, get off my lawn. But I just don't like it. And it's not just Dodger fans. Like it's every don't tell me like, oh, Cardinals fans are better. No, they're not. They do it there too. So I don't want to hear it. Every fan base does it in baseball, and it drives me bananas. I don't know. Maybe it's like a stupid like cross to die on, like, but it's like, please stop doing the wave. Please stop doing the wave.
I get it. I hear what you're saying, and I get it. I don't like it when they're doing the wave when the Dodgers are losing. All right, unless it's kind of a route.
They're kind of like disinterested at that point. And I hear the argument a lot that's like, well, I brought my kids to the game. My kids should be able to. That's okay. I get it. Like my problem is I can see both sides, but like for some reason it just drives me bananas.
I don't hate it.
Don't do it when we're losing, and don't do it when it's a close game, especially if our pitcher's on the mound. Please.
I like that. Let's make that happen. Let's get some rules up on the wall. Because that's all we need in life is more rules.
If it's a blowout or we're in like the 22nd inning and there's 7 people in the stands, knock yourself out.
Right. Well, speaking of people in the stands, we were just having this discussion. Juan and I and Alonso, we were asking, do the Dodgers need to be in stadiums with a lot of fans? This came about because the Saturday win when they blew out the Pirates, and then the very next day they lost. And the question became, why? Dodgers shouldn't be losing to teams like the Pirates, right? And especially when the West is so good, the National League West is so good. The Dodgers need to win the games they should win. Okay. So I don't know. My thought was, well, maybe they need to be home. Maybe they are used to, we're talking about the Dodgers, having so many fans and so much energy at all times. I mean, that's one of the first things Freddie Freeman mentioned when becoming a Los Angeles Dodger is how great the fans were, how loud they were, how surprised he was at the energy in the ballpark. So do you think the Dodgers just don't get up all the time for teams that are not great? Or
no, I don't think any team gets up 162 games. I think, no disrespect to the Pirates, and maybe it was a trap series. Maybe things just didn't go their way. I mean, I think it's the long game, right? This is not a 17-game season like the NFL. It's the long game. You have to, as long as you, for the most part, win every single series, which I realize they did not against the Pirates. But if you win every series, you're going to be fine. And yes, the NL West is incredibly competitive. I like the fact that there's actually, 3 teams that are really in it. And, up until 2 days ago, I haven't seen what the Rockies and Diamondbacks have done recently, but up until 2 days ago, every single team in the NL West was above 500. That's good for baseball. Competitive balance is good for baseball. I love that the Angels are playing well this year. I want somebody to compete with the Astros in the AL West. I wish the Mariners were playing better. I thought the Mariners had a shot this year, and they still do. Listen, we're not even to June yet. But, the Dodgers just didn't play well. They fell flat, and sometimes that's going to happen. As long as you don't fall flat too much, you're going to be fine. I mean, yes, you should beat the Pirates. Yes, you should beat the Reds. Yes, you should beat, teams that are really scuffling out of the gate. The Orioles, although I think they've won 6 of their last 8 or something like that. So, these are still major league ball clubs. It's not like the Dodgers went in and they're playing, Pittsburgh High School. I mean, it's still a major league. I realize it's not the same talent level. They just, Pittsburgh is rebuilding right now. The Dodgers just reload. They don't rebuild, they reload. So, I mean, yes, of course the fans are important, but I don't think the Dodgers would make any excuse that they have to have a full stadium in order to play well. I mean, that's just not. They expect to win every game, and they just fell short in that series. And give credit to Pittsburgh, because certainly, if you look at it, nobody expected the Pirates, other than the Pirates, no one expected them to beat the Dodgers 2 of 3.
Yeah.
We're speaking with former track and cross country star Alanna Rizzo. Alana, I'm sorry. I have a question here, and this goes back to your professionalism. We've had some players on the show that are more comfortable speaking in Spanish. Mm-hmm. So, we try to do a bilingual interview, but sometimes we just get caught up in speaking in Spanish. Mm-hmm. One of the things I always appreciated about you when you were on the Dodgers was when, for example, Yasiel Puig, you made that effort to speak in their native tongue so they would be able to express themselves. My first comment is I appreciate you making yourself so vulnerable in trying that. I think that's something that's not talked about a lot. And then my question to you was, is that something that you knew going in that's what you were going to do? Is that a conversation that you had with Spectrum SportsNet? Because there was a time over the playoffs when Pedro Martinez was having a conversation with El Tío on TBS in a postgame, and they spoke in Spanish for what felt like a good half hour. And I'm sure the producers and everyone behind the camera was like, what's going on? Because they had no subtitles. Right. There was probably a large part of the audience who didn't understand what they were saying. Sure. But you could tell Theo was very comfortable and he was talking. So for you, going with that approach, was that something you had pre-planned?
Well, I can tell you, first of all, thank you for that. It is the hardest thing I have to do in my job, and it's the one thing that gives me the most anxiety. And the reason it gives me so much anxiety is because I'm not a fluent native Spanish speaker. My mom was born in Havana, Cuba. So her first language is Spanish, and she didn't come to the United States until she was 22. But I grew up in the United States, and I can speak Spanish well, but not 100% fluently. And I think my biggest fear when I do the translation is that I'm going to offend a native Spanish speaker. And every single time I do an interview in Spanish, I get some compliments, but I also get obliterated by people that speak Spanish fluently. And I understand that. But it is more important for me that the player is comfortable than I'm comfortable. I don't care if I don't like it. It makes me I do get anxiety, but it's more important for me that they can speak in a native language where they can express themselves thoroughly versus just the few English phrases that they may know that they feel comfortable with, because that's not the full picture. And I think our job as reporters and journalists is to paint the full picture to allow the subject to paint a full picture for him or her. So, I do it for that reason, because I know that we're going to get more out of them if they do it. It would be like if I went to Greece and I had to do an interview in Greek. Like I can't imagine how intimidating that would be. So for these guys, especially if it's in the ballpark where they can hear themselves and they know everybody in the ballpark is listening to them, I think it's so much more important that they can speak their native language. And it was a conversation. I mean, people knew I could speak Spanish coming in. And I think because LA is such a heavy Mexican American, Latin American, Spanish speaking community, I mean, I think, and obviously baseball is a global game. And I'm thankful that now, and it's been really within just the last 2 or 3 years, that we now finally, in every single major league clubhouse, all 30 have a translator. So there's always been translators, interpreters for our Asian-speaking players, which obviously there should be. But now we definitely have Juan Dorado is the one for the Dodgers, and he also does a lot of other stuff for the public relations department. But I've worked with a lot of amazing interpreters and translators in all major league clubhouses. And that's so beneficial to these players because then they are represented in the right way. And I will continue to do it. And I always tell the player, I'm going to try to do this in Spanish. If you help me, if I get stuck, I will help you if you get stuck in English. And I always give them the option. Do you want to do that? You want to try this in English? If you get stuck, we'll switch to Spanish. Or, if you want to do it in Spanish, no problem. So it's just, I feel like it's an asset. Not a lot of people can do it. It is very difficult to do. I'm not perfect with it, but I think it's better to do that and make the player feel comfortable than make them feel awful or have them misrepresented.
It's interesting that you say that because French-Canadian immigrant Eric Gagne told us that when he came, I did not know this. He did not speak English when he came to the country, and he gravitated to the Latin players.
Isn't that funny?
In the locker room, that he could relate to them. That being said, I have to ask you this. I every time I ask it to other people, I just don't think this is a black and white question. But did Yasiel Puig get a bad rap in LA?
I think Yasiel is misunderstood. I mean, listen, Yasiel isn't somebody, he created a lot of the drama around him, but I don't think Yasiel Puig is a bad guy. I think this is a guy that, came from a very, very different culture, and it wasn't mainstream Cuba either. I mean, we're not talking, he's from, Cienfuegos. He's not from, Havana or El Boyedo, where my mom is from, which is right outside of Havana. He's from the country, I guess. It wasn't a huge metropolitan area. So he had a very different upbringing, very different education system. It's difficult for these guys that come over and are immediate superstars. You remember when he came up in June of 2013 and lit the world on fire. And then his first full season was 2014 was probably my most difficult clubhouse because there were a lot of different personalities and a lot of people that kind of wanted to be superstars. And this was before the new ownership group came over, the new front office came over, who I think
was that the Clint Hurdle year?
No. Don Mattingly was still
the
Dodgers in 2014. So Mattingly was still the manager, and it was an interesting dynamic. I mean, it was Yasiel, it was Hanley Ramirez, it was Matt Kemp, it was Juan Uribe. Those, some of the guys that were kind of superstars, and then you still had the Claytons of the world and the Justin Turners and the Kenleys, and it was just a very interesting dynamic. This was before we got Chris Taylor. Obviously, Max Muncy wasn't here yet. All of this stuff. So, Kike wasn't here yet. On and on. So it was just an interesting thing. And Yasiel, I like him. I understand how difficult it must be to go from, Cuba to the United States to try to learn all of the culture and all of the different things. Now, that being said, everybody tried to help Yasiel, and you can't show up late to opening day. You can't do those things. And a lot of people put their time and investment in him. And he chose to do his own thing and have a different path. He's not a bad guy. And there's a lot of people that don't do what he does in the community. He's very involved in the community with the Wild Horse Foundation. And of course, where did he get the Wild Horse name? Vin Scully. I think Yasiel has a huge heart. I think he has good intentions. Sometimes I don't think his execution is great, but I don't think he's a bad person. And I think we're missing out on a huge talent. I think it sucks that his MLB career was so short-lived, because I think he could have been incredibly, incredibly special if he would have just been able to kind of rein in everything else that was going on.
Go ahead, Alysha.
No, I was going to just follow up with that. I mean, to go to Yasiel's career, my mom was a huge Puig fan. He's the kind of player that would cause my mom to leave the room and come and see him bat or whatever. Like, he was so dynamic. And I was telling the guys, when Vin Scully gives you a nickname, you're special, right? So I really thought he was going to be in the league a lot longer and be a superstar and stuff. And it's just sad. It's just sad. But I want to take that and stay with the Latino players. Urías. I'm a huge fan of Urías. And there's this dialogue. I don't know if you saw, if you were in Los Angeles or you read the LA Times, Dylan Hernandez, he wrote an article. He's also a guest on the Bleed Those podcast. He's awesome. Mm-hmm. We discussed how some people feel that he gets treated differently. It's a different set of rules for, say, Urías versus Walker Buehler. Do you subscribe to that? Do you believe that, or do you see maybe it's just misunderstood? I don't know.
No, I mean, for example, the only example I draw on for that is the postseason last year. I think that at that point, Julio had earned the right to start that game.
Game 5.
Game 5. And I don't think that it's fair to ask him after he started all season long. He no longer had any sort of like handcuffs on pitch count or innings. He was healthy, this, that, and the other thing. You would not have asked Buehler to do that.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have asked Buehler to come out. Now, Walker would have, but I don't think you would have asked Walker to. You know, and Julio, to his benefit or to his detriment, never complained, to my knowledge. Never publicly said. I mean, his answer was always the same. I mean, this is what you want to hear, right? This is what you better hear. I'll do whatever the team needs. And that, you know, I don't know that there's different rules. I just think that it's unfortunate that he was put in that position. And I don't know that other pitchers rather, would have been put in that same position. I don't think you're going to ask Walker Buehler, who started all year. And Julio had 20 wins last year. It wasn't like Julio was struggling and they wanted him to come out of the bullpen. And the same could be said in years past before Kenta went to Minnesota. The same could be said for Kenta. If I'm Kenta and I know I want to be a starter, and all of a sudden come postseason, I'm coming out of the bullpen, I'm like, what the heck? But again, team game, right?
Yeah.
Game. Same could be said for Alex Wood. You know, before Alex went to Cincinnati and then came back to the Dodgers, you know, the whole thing of like him coming out of the bullpen, Alex had said 1,000 times he wanted to be a starter. He went to Cincinnati. He had terrible back issues, had a terrible year, came back to LA, had a very good year, and then now is obviously with the Giants and doing well there. So, you know, you do what is right. Dave Roberts has always said it's not about the parts, it's about the sum. And I do believe that the Dodgers, I will say this, talking with players from other teams that have played for the Dodgers and then have gone elsewhere, or just guys that have been around the block, the Dodgers are one of the best teams at communication with their players. I will say that. So at least that's what's been relayed to me by guys that have played for other teams. So I'm not willing to say different rules for different guys, but I do think it's interesting that Julio was asked to do that when perhaps, you know, other pitchers wouldn't have been asked that.
I'm going to follow up with Dylan's explanation or reason why is cultural, that being Mexican, which by the way, I'm in Mazatlan and there are so many Dodger caps here. I love it. Every time I see a kid or an older man or there's a bunch, I'm like, anyway, you know, this is Urías country. He was saying that Urías, the upbringing he had, it's very indicative of the Mexican, even Mexican Americans, right? I was raised this way. You work hard, you keep your head down, you don't cause trouble, you don't ask for anything. You work hard and hope that your, you know, bosses or your managers or the people in charge will reward you and will not punish you for working hard. So Dylan's explanation, I felt that, like, okay, yeah, you know, he's not going to complain. He's not going to say no. Right.
Yeah, a part of being a manager is managing personalities, right? I think one of the things about being a manager is that you have to be a psychologist as well. You're not just managing a lineup. You're not just managing, before we had the universal DH, you're not just managing a double switch. You have to know how to manage and massage your personalities. And I can also say that perhaps you look at it a different way, that Julio was rewarded. He did record the final out of the World Series to give the Dodgers the first World Series.
I know.
So there's that too. And yes, maybe he's a guy that you like, think about like in your own family. Like let's say you have 3 sisters, right? One sister is a pain in the ass. One sister never says anything. One sister's kind of in the middle, whatever. She's Switzerland, neither here nor there. Parents are probably going to push the one that doesn't complain about anything, give her the most garbage because she's just easy. It's not that they love you any more or any less. You're just easier. The one that, is constantly complaining, you need to be a little bit more, white glove treatment or, kind of more eggshell, walk on eggshell type of thing. It's like any family dynamic. You can have 4 kids from the exact same parents, and you might have 4 kids that are completely different. Imagine managing a team of 26 kids and you're trying to figure out how to get the most out of all 26 of those guys. These players are not cookie cutter. We all come from different places, and so do they. So the way that you motivate Clayton Kershaw might be completely different than the way that you motivate Chris Taylor. Some guys need rah-rah and attention and accolades and me, and some guys don't want you to even talk to them. So, that's just part of the job. And, I think they were all managed great. And if Julio, maybe it'll be a step in his development and his growth, speaking up. And maybe he has. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not privy to those conversations. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Juan.
Yep. We have MLB Network contributor Alanna Rizzo on the show for just a few more minutes. Alysha, you want to any last questions before we start wrapping things up?
Yes. Okay. So we miss you very much in Los Angeles covering the Dodgers, but I love, bigger and bigger. Your star's just getting brighter and brighter. Anything you can tell us coming up that you're excited about career-wise?
First and foremost, there's nothing bigger to me and better to me than LA. I loved my 7 years there. I didn't leave because I was unhappy. I didn't leave because the Dodgers treated me with nothing but class, respect, grace, professionalism. I love that organization. I always will. It was one of the best 7 years I've ever had. Certainly the best 7 years of my life professionally.
Alana, I hate to interrupt, but were you hesitant to come to LA at first?
I was. I only knew Los Angeles. Thanks for bringing that up, Juan. Thanks a lot.
I didn't know whether this was true because you speak so glowingly about LA, and I don't understand why anyone wouldn't like LA.
Well, because if you come only as a visitor, it's a pain in the butt because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. You don't know, LA has this reputation that everybody is fake and false and plastic. And it's so wrong. I mean, yes, there is that element, but I can tell you there's that element all across the country. And I've lived internationally. I lived in every single time zone in the US. So I can tell you that is, if that's what you want, you will find that. But I only knew LA as a visitor, as a visiting team coming in. I was with the Rockies for 5 years. And imagine you're trying to go to the ballpark. You don't know where the heck you're going. You're going at the wrong time. I didn't know LA intimately. I didn't know the different cultures and all of the food and this, that, and the other thing. So I almost didn't come because I thought I wasn't going to like it. And I also wanted to make sure that my dog was going to have grass to run and this, that, and the other thing. Guidry, who the foundation is actually named after. So the first 2 years I lived in LA, I was in the city center, and I was kind of over by, Cedars-Sinai Hospital and Beverly Connection. It was so congested, and that's just not my game. Everyone's angry and flipping you off because it's so crowded. And then I moved to the South Bay, and it was whoa, this is great. And LA has every time I land there, I feel like I'm home. And I'm from Colorado. I was born and raised in Colorado. And while I love Colorado, if I could live anywhere, I'd live in Manhattan Beach. I'd live in LA. So, yes, I almost didn't go there. I'm glad I didn't listen to myself. I'm glad I was wrong. But to me, there's nothing bigger and better there. Than LA. The only reason I left is because, the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020. I could have probably stayed there forever, but my fiance, his job changed, and he has 2 little girls, and they live on the East Coast. And I was at some point, we weren't going to be able to see each other because he wasn't going to be traveling as much. And I'm at some point, I'm going to have to say goodbye. So, and I agonized over it for months. And I had conversations with my former boss, Lon Rosen, who's the head of VP, he's the VP of broadcasting and marketing. And we talked about it. And I was well, maybe I can do a condensed schedule, but I can't do anything halfway. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I just didn't think it was fair to the team. I didn't think it was fair because with baseball, it's an everyday beat. And you need to be immersed in it to really understand and to be one-on-one and have those conversations with the players and this, that, and the other thing. So that's the only reason I left, but I love it. And every time I will always cheer for the Dodgers. I'm on MLB Network now, and everyone says I'm a homer, and I get blown up on Twitter because all I care about is the Dodgers, which everybody. What the thing is, everybody at MLB Network has their own team. We all grew up somewhere, or we all worked for somebody, but I get blown up, but that's okay. I love the Dodgers. I love LA. I love the people. So I'm excited to get back there for the All-Star game.
Well, before we end the show the way we always end all of our shows, Alana, I do have one quick question. Breaking news today about Kershaw's injury. Does this mean we're going to see the timelines of the Ryan Pepios, the Millers? Is this going to speed it up, or how are the Dodgers going to manage this very thinning starting rotation right now?
Yeah, this is the first year, Juan, that I've really been worried about coming into the season, not just because Kershaw's on the IL now. It's the first year I've really worried about the pitching depth for the Dodgers. I mean, that's the one thing that we had too many. You can never have too many arms, but it's the one thing that we had, enough to get by and work through the schedule with off days and this, that, and the other thing. And Andrew Friedman's one of the best about optioning guys up and down like that. That elevator between AAA and the big leagues. They know exactly how to work those options and be able to send guys up and down and the 10-day IL and all that stuff. So, you might see some guys that probably are getting to the big leagues a little sooner than they should. I had that conversation today on MLB Network. I think a lot of guys are being rushed up here. I don't think, the Dodgers don't necessarily have to do that, but there's a lot of guys being rushed that have had success in the minor leagues. They come to the big leagues. They never had failure in the minor leagues. Then they have failure at the big league level, and they don't know how to handle it. So, David Price hasn't really pitched a ton for us. I mean, that's an issue. The amount of innings that he's pitched since he's come over, and of course he opted out because of COVID. I understand that too. But and with the shortened spring training, guys aren't going as deep yet into ball games. So, you might see some new faces. I mean, I know that they got Clevenger up from AAA because Kersh went on the IL. I hope this SI joint inflammation isn't huge. You always worry, when it comes to Kersh, but. They seem to always figure it out. This is a team that always figures it out.
Well, now we're going to end the show the way we always end the show, but a real speed round. McMansions, are they still in your fight club?
What's in my fight club is the fact I can't buy one because I don't have any money. How does everybody in Manhattan Beach have a flipping $6 million house? What do you do for a living? How do I get there? Yeah. What's irritating is when they're banging their hammers and blasting their music at 8 a.m. when I get to bed at 1 because I've covered a baseball game. So, yes, that's annoying. Do I want one? Of course. Can I have one? No. So until I can have one, which is never, they're annoying.
Well, it's great. It's good to see that your move to MLB Network has mellowed you out and that you don't have strong opinions on anything like The Wave or McMansions.
Yep, no, I'll be out.
But anyways, Alana, we are not only about the Dodgers on this podcast, we're about LA, but we're primarily about taco culture, okay? We love our tacos, and I know you're a South Bay person, so we need to know what is your favorite taco and where do you go to get that taco?
Okay, and I'm going to tell you this. So my favorite taco is anything made by my girl, Karina Martin. Okay, so Karina is a good friend of mine. Okay, she was my makeup artist at Spectrum, but she is a very good friend of mine. And she makes the best authentic, both her parents are from Mexico. She was born in the United States, but she grew up in Inglewood. So every time I am in LA, I stay with her. And in fact, for the Super Bowl, we didn't go to the Super Bowl. We were at her house, like not that far from SoFi. And we had this amazing like taco spread with the whole thing. And it was amazing. So anytime I go, Karina makes authentic Mexican tacos. And now this one, who's Cuban and Italian, knows how to make them too. Because Karina came to visit me last year. And we went to an authentic Latin market in Providence, Rhode Island. We got all the meat, the carne asada, todo. And then we came here and I made it with the queso fresco. We made homemade salsa. We did it all. So that is my favorite taco. It's made by Karina and Ramon Martin.
Okay, so carne asada is your favorite taco then, made by Karina.
Yes.
So when we go stand outside her house, asking her, just put a little table outside, un puesto, Karina.
Do it. And by the way, she loves like those White Claw things. And so I got her as a thank you. I got her backyard in Inglewood is fantastic. She has the whole setup. They have like an outdoor TV where we watch the Super Bowl. By the way, the whole Super Bowl halftime show. Oh my gosh, what a blast! And they have I got her the whole setup with like this cooler that's like, I tried to get it Dodger blue, but it's lighter than Pantone 294, unfortunately. But she's got an amazing setup in Inglewood. I stay there every time I'm in town. I love it. I love authentic street tacos, and that's what she makes.
Okay, are you corn or flour?
For those, I'm still flour. I know.
Wow.
I know.
She's a fan of the oppressor's tortilla. She likes the oppressor's tortilla.
But we make the tostadas with the corn ones.
Okay. All right.
Don't,
good save.
Don't act that badly, okay?
Good save. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. MLB Network contributor Alanna Rizzo joining us on the show. Thank you, Alana. Where can our listeners follow you? I'm sure half of them are already following you anyways. But where can some new person coming on to the podcast follow you?
Appreciate you guys being with me. I miss you very much. Very, very basic. At Alanna Rizzo. It's Alana with 1 L, 2 N's, and 3 A's. Alanna Rizzo. And then Guidry's Guardian Foundation on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And I appreciate it very much.
Well, thanks for coming on, Alana. We really appreciate it. For those of you listening, we have a YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to it. The episode will show up on YouTube next week. So at this time, I want to just thank everyone for listening. Subscribe, write us a review, because you never know who's going to stop by the condensada. We're out.
Bye, Alana.
Bye, guys.